edition of the Preview Review Show. I'm your host, Lonnie Johnson, and I'm here today with Joshua Ybarra and Rebekah Johnson. How you both doing today?
Awesome, thank you.
Great. Well, here on the Preview Review Show, what we do is take a look at previews of upcoming movies that are coming out soon and give you an honest review of what's basically going to happen. We do a rating of stars, how's this going to go on Rotten Tomatoes, and when and where we think you should see this. Do me a favor before we get started with our first movie, subscribe to this show and hit on that bell so you know when we're doing another show. It really does help out. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Sal Baltimore, a premium watch company that is proudly designed and assembled in Baltimore, Maryland, my home state. With attention to detail and quality in every design that pays tribute to the city of Baltimore and its people. A watch you can be proud to wear every day. I myself own the Founders Edition and love to show it off. Go check them out at salbaltimore.com. And for our first preview today, it's Bill and Ted's third episode, Facing the Music.
When your wife suggested couples therapy, do you think that this is what they had in mind?
Definitely. I mean, we're a couple of couples, right?
Bill, Ted, enough of the delusions. You didn't time travel, and you didn't go to heaven and hell. Here's a real idea for you. Be role models to your daughters. Get real jobs.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to unite the world, and I'm tired, dude.
Ted, we have a destiny to fulfill.
Whoa!
Greetings, my excellent friends. We have a problem.
Step forward. A song created by Preston Logan, performed tonight, will save reality as we know it.
Oh. Dude, we better write that song now. Or why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
And take it from ourselves.
Except, won't that be stealing?
Cheers! How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
Dude, our dads are totally in trouble. We should help them out.
No way!
How's it going, Bill and Ted?
We're putting together a most extraordinary band.
Hey, you want to be in our band?
Oh,
this is ja fantastisch. We're gonna go talk to Death. Is he playing hopscotch by himself? Dude, he's cheating. Hey, Death.
Life, it isn't the wild stallions.
Let's rock!
Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
Billy! Dance! How you doing?
well, you know, we're dead and we're in hell.
But how you doing?
We're good.
And that's Bill and Ted's Face the Music, the next edition in the third movie of the Bill and Ted franchise. Just something coming back from the 80s that if you were alive during that time, it's very nice to see something comedic come back again. And it's just going to be one of those good times to watch. Josh, why don't you give us your opinion of this movie preview coming out?
You know, it's one of those things that I think nostalgia is really popular right now, to go back and kind of revisit some of the past movies. And this is one of those films that, right now I think we're hard pressed for just good lighthearted comedy, and it's one of those things that, especially with the message, be excellent to each other and party on. It's just one of those things that right now it's great to just watch something that has a little bit of brevity, that has a good message, that's funny and lighthearted. And I mean, the trailer, you know, it almost already sets up that maybe their kids are the ones that are going to save the world.
Whoa.
You can kind of already get what's happening going on, but you got Keanu Reeves reprising like really a breakout role for him, and something that they did for fun. You know, this isn't a movie that's taking itself seriously. It's not a movie that's going to have this tremendous story arc to it. It's a movie to go in, enjoy yourself, and just, you know, laugh and not think about everything that's going on in the world for, you know, 90 minutes, and just have a good time at the theater, you know.
I completely agree with you. It's just one of those lighthearted movies that's going to be great to see with friends and family and enjoy the whole Bill and Ted lore of the past, now in today's kind of situation of them being adults instead of being the kids in the whole situation. Rebekah, why don't you give us your take on this preview?
Well, for me, like, it's not nostalgic because I actually just saw the first Bill and Ted movie like 2 weeks ago. Usually popular right now culturally. Like, he has always been popular, but he's really risen to like the top of like celebrity love and fandom right now. And so I think that's going to draw a lot of people in. The series has been hard, and I think it's enough of a comedy draw that people will come in for him and for the humor and the opportunity to go back to a happier time and a simpler time in their memories.
Great. You know, like we've all said, it's one of those movies that you're not having high expectations for. It's one that you're having that great laugh and enjoying your time with the people who are seeing it, even if it's nostalgic or not. With that, I'll lead off the grading on this one. I'm going to give Bill and Ted's Face the Music a score of 3.5 because it's like you said, like we said, it's not something that is going to be, you know, like, ooh, big awards. You know, it's just a fun movie to go see. 3.5 is very generous in my opinion on that. Rotten Tomatoes, I think this one is actually going to be really high on the Rotten Tomatoes, and it's going to be in the 95 range. When and where I'll see this, I might go see it in the movie theater, but this is definitely one that I think I would wait until it got onto Netflix. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Rebekah. Why don't you give us your grades on this one?
Sure. I think on the preview, I would say about 3 stars, maybe 3.5 at the top end. They kind of gave away the story, I think, in the preview. So for me, there's not a lot of like interest there. Like the mystery is a little bit revealed in the preview. So I would say 3 stars probably is my score on that. And then 60%, 65 maybe on the top end. Yeah, I'll go 65. I think audiences are going to like it, but I don't think reviewers will, and I think that's going to tank it.
Okay, Josh, why don't you give us your grades on that?
All right, for me personally, I'm gonna, you know, I feel like it is, you know, a 3 to a 3.5, probably a more solid 3.5. You know, have to remember like the whole idea of the Bill and Ted was like, be kind to each other, be good, which by all means, man, we need to be kind to each other right now. I personally, I think that if theaters were a little bit more open when this did release, this would definitely be like one of those like Saturday matinee, I'm going to take the kids to the movies thing. You know, I wouldn't say this is a movie you need to see in IMAX, you know, but as like a fun matinee to go catch, I would definitely do that. You know, I would even pay the money to get it streamed, maybe even before Netflix, just as something that's what I think we're lacking right now is just something fun to watch, you know, without a lot of heavy tones to it. So I think Rotten Tomatoes is going to rock. Like, I think I think a lot of the movie critics are going to be hard pressed. They're going to want to tank it because of probably a light story. But because Keanu is attached to it, I think that they're going to be afraid to tank it, you know? So I think that like 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, because they want to be nice. And I think that for the audience perspective, I think it'll probably gain like an 85. You know, I don't think anybody is going to jump on Rotten Tomatoes and go, oh my God, the story arcs were horrible in this, because it's not the movie to have that expectation for it. So yeah, I would say about 3.5 for myself. I would say definitely matinee Saturday, you know, have a good time, or streaming around the house. And I would say a solid like B on Rotten Tomatoes.
Got that. Great review on that. With that, we're going to move on to our next movie, or I should say preview. It's the now like buzz that's out there from the remake of the original and the book Dune. It's going to be one of those cult classics, so let's get into it.
There's something happening to me. There's something awakening in my mind. I can't control it.
What did you see?
There's a crusade coming.
Do you often dream things that happen just as you dreamed them?
Yes.
The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain. You inherit too much power. You have proven you can rule yourself. Now you must learn to rule others. Something none of your ancestors learned.
My father rules an entire planet.
He's losing it.
He's getting a richer one.
He'll lose that one too. Arrakis is a death trap.
I'll kill him. This is an extermination. They're picking my family off one by one.
Let's fight like demons.
An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do?
I know you.
One day, the legend will be born. All of civilization depends on it.
The future. I can see it. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
My Lord Duke.
Where the fear is gone, only I will remain.
Go, go, go!
And that is the Dune trailer for 2020. Being that I am one of those people who love the original movie, and this is the first time for me to see this trailer, I'm very happy that it seems from the trailer that they're keeping with the story and the way that it was run, not only in the book, but in the first movie. The characters look like they're on point for all of the actors that are of today, fitting into the positions that they are of the characters of old. It just looks like to me that this preview is the cleaning up of what the 1980s movie was, with sharper characters, sharper visuals, sharper costumes, technical aspects of it, even the cinematography. Even though it's now an updated, it just seems like it literally is like someone took the original movie that made and they made it that much better. They just cleaned it up. They didn't do anything overdone compared to what it was before. The use of the characters that they've got going, just Jason Momoa being in this movie, looks like he's going to be phenomenal. I'm not exactly sure which character he's playing from this preview, but I would love to see how this is going to go. With that, I'm going to flip it over to Rebekah. Why don't you give us your opinion about this movie?
So I saw Dune, the 1984 version, a few years ago. Honestly, I hated it. I thought it was really terrible. I didn't really get the story, even though I was watching it carefully. Like, I just didn't understand the main plot points, and I did not find it compelling. And frankly, I can't stand anything Kyle MacLachlan is in, period. So it was a hard sell for me, and I was like, ugh. But I'm a big reader, and I've been told for years one of the best books ever written, that it is like to the Lord of the, like what the Lord of the Rings is to fantasy, Dune is to science fiction. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll read it someday. But honestly, this trailer had me so excited for the story for the first time ever. I really love the visuals. The cinematography is outstanding. The cast that they've chosen are really either up and coming, like for like today's generation is also a huge draw in this film. So the casting is on point, and it looks beautiful and dynamic and exciting and action filled. And it actually made me so excited that I went out and bought the book. So I'm gonna dig into that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the movie based on this room.
Okay, Josh, why don't you tell us your opinion on it?
You talk about Jason Momoa and you're like, oh yeah, I saw him in this and was like, oh no. Because to me, he plays the same character, like Aquaman, like every character he plays Jason Momoa. So I'm vastly hoping that they get him out of that Moana character for once. So I'll be honest with you. For me, this looks like just an epic movie. But my fears in this are that, is this going to be one of those things that has a runtime of like 100 minutes and they try to cram all this great storytelling into such a short period of time? Or are they going to really spend the time? And because it looks like there is a lot of action, but through the trailer, it seems like there is just like this immense story that needs to be told. And I think my biggest fear is with the commercialism of movies, they have a tendency to make them shorter and shorter. Are they going to give this the runtime that it deserves? And the second part of that is this part one? Because they have a tendency in the motion picture industry right now is like, oh, this is something that's going to be great. This is already, 6 books. Let's milk this bad boy, Lord of the Rings style, and we're going to see this unfold over the next 12 years. And I think that those are my biggest fears in watching the trailer are they going to give this story the time it deserves? And if they do, is it going to be something that we're just going to have to wait a decade to see unfold? And I say this scene that I know I saw Dune sometime when I was a kid, but like I'm not really familiar with the story. The visuals itself from the movie, the understanding that, there's this great warring conflict. It looks like it has something to be epic. And I'm just really curious as to how they let it unfold And with the cast of characters, I feel like they got like the best B characters out there. And then once again, you drop in like, okay, so like Dave Bautista, you know, he's lovable. People really gravitate towards him.
Look, that's not what's important.
Are they going to get him out of the mold of being Dave Bautista in movies? The same thing with Jason Momoa. I saw that. And for me, like, I don't know anything he's been in where he gives a great performance. So those are like my fear factors for it. But other than that, I'm really looking forward to just seeing a great story, which speaks to the director, because when I saw it, I wasn't familiar with I think Daniel Villeneuve or something like that as the director's name, but he did Sicario, he did Arrival, and both of those movies, like Arrival was just, it was paced really well, the story was told great. Sicario, you know, when the story ended, it ended. And it didn't have this nice wrapped up feeling, but I feel like that was great because he still paced that movie to where it was a really good story. So
I completely agree with you that on the pacing of how this movie needs to go, because the director, in the pacing of his previous two movies that you mentioned, he has the pace that this movie does have, because On Tradition being the original time this was done and then recreated again, Dune is a movie that is over the 2 hour mark and almost to the 4-6 hour mark for them to do one movie. And if they keep with the tradition, that is my fear, because a lot of people, unlike myself, they can't last watching one movie for over 2 hours. They get tired of it and they'll like, nah, it's no good because it was too long. But this is one of those movies with an intense, epic story that needs that time, like you said, to be played out over a certain amount of time. I hope they don't go to the whole Lord of the Rings level with it, with chopping it up in segments like that. I hope they stick with the tradition of just make it a little bit longer to fit it just right. But I want you to continue on with your thought and keep that going. I just want to interject that before we went into anything else.
No, and that's great, because me not being familiar with the story already told, you know, I was just like Rebekah, you know, it makes me want to go buy the books. Well, I was like, oh, let me go buy the book Dune. And then it was like, oh, it's 6 books. And I was like, oh shit, is this going to be like, how are they going to tell all this? Like, and I hate to say this, and I, you know, bring up the Game of Thrones. Like, are you guys going to like fuck the ending on this?
Shame.
I'm sorry, pardon my language, but like, are you guys going to like totally boof this and deprive us of a good story? You know, but once again, it at least has that driving force of great visuals, great actors, this tone and this. And once I found out who the director, what he had done, super excited, you know? So I just hope they make movies for the right viewer. Does that make sense? Like someone who's going to appreciate something epic.
It totally makes sense, the direction that you're saying on that. It is one of those stories that needs to be told over a long period of time and not just ended bad or do directorial creativism to change what it is from the story. This is one of those books that when it did go to film, it wasn't augmented to fit the Hollywood narrative and more towards the book. Rebekah, do you have anything else to add to this before we go any further?
Yeah, I was going to say it is 6 books, but I think this movie is just the first book. And unlike Game of Thrones, the author finished the series and then his son actually kept going. So George R.R. Martin is the one who fucked us on that ending.
Shame.
And Denis Villeneuve is the director. He also directed Blade Runner 2049, which was really an amazing continuation of the Blade Runner movies. He handled the material well, which tells me he takes a movie from the 80s that's already like a cult classic, a sci-fi classic, and he turns it into something modern and cool. So I'm super excited to see what he does with this.
Great. That is great. With that, I'm going to let you, Rebekah, lead off with the grading on this. Tell us what you feel about this preview for Dune.
I'm going to give this review 4.5 stars. It's really compelling to me as a preview. I mean, we don't know what the movie will do yet, but the preview made me want to read the books and go see the movie, which as a former Dune hater, kind of a big deal. And I would say the Rotten Tomatoes score, I'm going to estimate that it's going to be completely fresh in the 90% range. And then where I want to go see it, I'm a big fan, so if I can, this is one I think you need to experience in like full IMAX glory, and so that's what I'm hoping to go see it in theater any weekend, and I'm hoping for an IMAX experience for that, because I think you need to see it as like spectacle that it's meant to be, like a big epic.
Roger that. Josh, go ahead and give us your rundown on the grades for Dune.
All right, so like trailer wise, I mean, it's a 5. You know, it's everything. Like, I want to go see this movie. It has me very intrigued in the story. Like the everything from the visuals to the actors to the story. You know, like you want to see how to spend, you know, $400 million. Like, that's a preview of how to spend $400 million. You know, as far as Rotten Tomatoes goes, you know, I think if done really well, you know, with all the expectations, I think it's something that like maybe the critics will give that 90%. But I feel like if it really is, and maybe this is a pessimist to me, but if it really is a high intellectual movie that is paced slower for effect and for storytelling, I feel like you're going to have people being like, well, why wasn't Jason Momoa shirtless when he was battling? You know, I really hope that it's, you know, and having faith in what the director's done previously and not really knowing the material, you know, I'm expecting to go in and get blown away, and I want to say it's going to be like a 95. I was trying to watch the preview outside, and it was so hard to watch it because it was so dark, you know. I couldn't, you know, brightness all the way up on my phone. I was still having to squint into the screen. You know, I want to see this in IMAX as big as you can. You know, I want to see and appreciate all the visuals. I want to appreciate all the sound to it. So, yeah, I really hope they don't, you know, I'm glad the books are finished. I'm glad the books are finished. I'm glad that this is something that I can get excited about and know that there's an ending to.
My grades on this being that I am one of the Dune loyalists that love the movie, love the book, love to see this do well. I am going to say it's going to get a 5 and just be like one of those phenomenal blockbusters of 2020. It's something that when I heard it came up, I was just like, excuse me? What? I need to see this movie. I need to see it now. Rotten Tomatoes, yeah, I think the problem is that the loyalists will love it. People who have not seen it and are not the intellectual or can deal with a long pace of a movie or the deep dramatic essence that's going to be put into this movie, that they're going to get bored of it. They're going to want to see more action. They're going to want to see more shit stuff. And it's not that type of movie. Rotten Tomatoes, to be safe, I'm going to say it's going to get like an 85% to basically be in that, like, it's a good movie, but it's not a huge blockbuster because of all the lowbrow people who don't get what they're trying to say. When it comes to seeing it, yeah, I'm definitely seeing it in the movie theater. Am I seeing it opening night? Maybe. More towards yes than no. I'm thinking yes. IMAX, probably. 3D, if possibly. So I'm going to say opening night IMAX. I'm just going to say IMAX for right now. And basically close it out and move on from there. With that, let's move on to our third preview of the day. The new Batman trailer.
your secret friend.
Underneath the bridge,
Who?
Topper sprung a leak, and the animals I've trapped
Haven't a clue.
all become my pet.
Let's play a game, just me and you.
Any of this mean anything to you?
You're becoming quite a celebrity. Why is he writing to you?
If you are justice, please do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye?
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Whoa! This guy's crazy!
You're part of this too.
How am I part of it?
You'll see.
Okay, that is the Batman trailer for 2021. I'm out of all the DC characters, and being that I used to work in the movie theater when the first Batman movie came out, I have very opinionated views upon this movie and all Batman movies that come out. And one, I can understand how we are going for the more realistic, gritty version of Batman in this time period of what's going on with him. It's more towards the younger years where he basically started out and he's trying to feel his way. You know, he's already been Batman for a little bit, and where it's falling in line with the most recent Batman movies, it's not understandable. From this preview, it does look like they're trying to do a complete reboot, not trying to rely on any of the definable stuff that happened before. And it's like watching a Batman movie that's now being cast and acted by the people who did The Crow. Or even worse, Nirvana is basically the people who are acting in this movie. They are going for that complete grunge look that was that period of the Batman comic books and trying to bring it into real life. I like how it's shot. The cinematography is not a problem. I am having an issue with some of the aesthetics of it, like the Batmobile looking like it came out of high school auto shop with an engine in it, when this is supposed to be, you know, one of the greatest thinkers, billionaires that's got all this money in the world. And he literally was probably a 1969 Camaro, chopped off the butt and put a jet engine into it over the weekend. It doesn't have that level of Batman that you would expect from this billionaire. And the casting for the main role of Batman, he's not brawny enough for it. He's not the physical structure he needs for it, even in the Batman suit. And then when he's Bruce Wayne, once again, he's got that whole Nirvana feel going on, which is not Bruce Wayne when he was in this time period of what's going on. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Rebekah, who's literally going to say everything opposite to what I just said. Go ahead.
First of all, you don't know that. Batman is my favorite superhero, and I've never really met a Batman movie I didn't like, except for the stupid one with George Clooney, which was wretched, and we all agree was wretched. I've loved every Batman movie that's
Wait a
ever
minute,
been
let us all get a vote on that. George Clooney Batman, all in favor of saying it's wretched, say aye. Aye.
I always apologize for Batman.
So,
It's bad. The George Clooney one was bad. All the rest of them, like even this one, is compelling to me for a lot of reasons. I do like modern somehow, which I kind of like, which gives me a very Gotham City feeling, because I always feel like Gotham, when Bruce's parents died, and like that 20s, 30s time frame is appropriate. Like obviously he's older, he's grown, we've moved in, but I still like moved on. But I do like the feeling that it gets, and Robert Pattinson is an interesting choice. I know a lot of people give him crap for Twilight and other stuff, but he's actually proven himself to be a really compelling actor in a lot of other films. He's got a lot of accolades, and as far as Bruce Wayne needing to be beefy, if Michael Keaton can play Batman, then literally anyone can play Batman. And so, like Michael Keaton, in my opinion, but a fantastic Batman. And so the only person who did it really well as both characters, Bruce Wayne and Batman, was Christian Bale. So I'm willing to give Robert Pattinson the benefit of the doubt. Are a few aesthetics, like the Batmobile, you don't get to see much of it. It's not my favorite. And I think the problem for me is when they add too many villains into the story. That might be an indicator that there's not a lot of plot. So I think sometimes the movies that have 2 or 3 villains in them struggle, instead of just having one central antagonist. So that's what I'm worried about.
understood. Josh, why don't you take over and tell us how you feel?
Well, despite how you feel about this movie, you, just like everyone else, is going to bend over and just take all of it in.
Shame!
All of it in.
Shame!
Stay away from this movie. You know, everyone's going to want to see it. I will tell you, though, I did pass by. Well, once I was super excited once the trailer came out. I saw it the first day, and I watched it, and it was just like, yes. Like it's dark, it's gritty, it's the detective. I passed by my kid's room, and I was like, "Did you watch the trailer?" And he just turns his head and goes, "It's not for kids." You know, this isn't the Disney Star Wars Batman. Heath Ledger's Joker changed it for everybody.
And here we go.
You know, his ability to bring home what that and okay, side note, I hated Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker.
And I thought my jokes were bad.
Okay? He was pathetic. He wasn't a mastermind, a criminal mastermind. And they go back and go, oh, maybe he wasn't the real one. Maybe he was the inspiration. Blah, 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 blah. Right? With Heath Ledger's Joker, he brought this realism to the role of what this sort of dementia looks like. And I feel with Robert Pattinson, he, you know, I never watched Twilight. I saw the previews for The Lighthouse, but I've never been in the mood for something that deep, you know. So he really has a clean slate with me. But as the young detective, which I think this series is revolving around, you know, it gives the possibility for there to be this growth or this naivety that is given towards a younger actor that is developing into an iconic role, you know. But for me personally too, Jeffrey Wright is one of my favorite actors of all time. And the fact that he's Commissioner Gordon or Detective Gordon, depending on when the timeline is, like, they have surrounded Robert Pattinson with some amazing supporting. Russell Crowe, I know that he got a lot of shit, but you know what I see them doing is giving this actor who may not have this sense from the general public of a leading role of this magnitude, and they are putting him around actors that can hold the fucking weight. They are putting him around actors that can, I mean, Jeffrey Wright, Andy Sudeikis, is that his name, I think? these are guys that can pull emotion, you know. So I see this as being, you know, and going to Rebekah's point, when there's a lot of bad guys, maybe they skimp on story. I'm hoping that they go full bore with the story and assume we already have seen the fucking Catwoman movies. We know who the Joker is. We know who the Penguin is. Can we get rid of all of this growing tales of having to explain to us the characters we've seen done a dozen times already? And I think that if they just drive the nail through and go, okay, everybody's familiar with the canon, the general brushstrokes, now let's just go ahead and go forward with what we're doing. You know, I think that I have a lot of faith in the actors. The director hasn't put out anything that I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. But based off the trailer alone, like, I will absolutely be there. I'm super excited. I like the theme. I like, you know, to be honest with you, I'm a little worried about the reception of the fact that Batman is actually just as mentally deranged as anybody else. Taking the law into his own hands, using physicality, money, and stature to be able to go do what he deems is right and wrong. And it seems like in the preview that they're dealing with this, you know. So I'm a big fan of the anti-hero heroes, and I don't think Batman has been shown in that light enough, you know. But I feel like they have they've set this up to be really, really like a really well told story. And that's what when I look at the actors that are involved in this. I mean, like, coming off opposite William Dafoe in The Lighthouse, this was supposed to be like a grueling, mentally like torturous system to get this performance. And then you have all of these great actors around there. It just seems to me like they're setting up to tell a really, really good story, and I'm excited to see it.
I can agree with you on all those points. I'm just hoping that the doubt that I'm putting on it with Robert Pattinson and the way that the characters are being costumed and makeup and the way that they look doesn't draw away from the story of how this Batman's going to be. With that, Josh, why don't you lead off on the grading on this one?
I can understand your point. Is sometimes it's so stylized it distracts from the story. But being as how I dress like that pretty much every day, I'm okay with it, you know. So on that note, trailer 5. I mean, like, this is the best thing about it, and this is why, to me, it's done so well, is that everybody knows the story, right? Everybody knows the story of Batman. What's this movie about? Who's the main villain? What's the overall arc? I still don't know. And you know, that to me makes me want to run and go see it, because I'm interested to figure it out. I'm interested to be taken on this journey. You know, like I said, the supporting actors in this are fucking heavy hitters, you know. And the reuse of Nirvana, that grunge aspect, that, you know, maybe, and maybe this is just the pessimist, you know, the optimist in me. I don't use that word too often, but the optimist in me is hoping that maybe they embrace the actual, you know, Heath Ledger version of Batman, you know. And I think that, you know, everybody talked crap about every Batman before they were picked. There are people that didn't like Christian Bale, you know, and he did a phenomenal job. You know, and his transformation in The Machinist prior to Batman, you know, you look at Robert Pattinson's mental, you know, the conditioning in The Lighthouse. I would give it, so I'll give it a 5 for the trailer. I think that it's going to be, I give it in the 90s on both. I do. I give it in the 90s on both. And you know, this is opening weekend. Got to be there with popcorn, Coke, out the whole 9.
Awesome. Rebekah, go ahead and give us your grades on this one.
I think on the trailer, I'm going to give that a 4-star. It was not compelling as the Dune trailer to me, but I'm a huge Batman fan, and it did leave me with questions that I want. So it's definitely an intriguing trailer. It was a little confusing to me, which is probably intentional since I think the Riddler is the main villain and we're meant to be a little bit confused by that. So it's a solid 4-star review for me. I think the Rotten Tomatoes score, critics are kind to a lot of Batman movies, actually. So I'm not sure. I'm thinking the critics are going to be less kind. It might end up around the 70 on Rotten Tomatoes with critics. I think fans might like it more. So I'm shooting for probably like an 85% score for fans. We'll see. But I say that as one of the only people in the world who liked Batman versus Superman, like loved it. So who knows?
All right. My grades on this, I'm actually going to give it, I'm going to give it a 3.75 because it is a little bit too confusing for me. It just doesn't seem right to me. You know, the core of me, I'm just like, I don't know if it's Robert Pattinson. I don't know if it's the costumes are. I don't know if it's shot. It's just, it just doesn't do it for me. Rotten Tomatoes, I believe this is probably going to be in that 75 percentile. You know, it's going to have the core lovers of Batman that are going to go see it. The critics are going to be like, it was well done with great acting. Everybody was awesome. You know, but it's just not, it's just not going to appeal to everyone, and the haters are going to drive the numbers down. When and where I'm going to see this, I'm going to probably see this in the movie theater. It's not going to be opening night, but it will be in the cinemas because Batman movies deserve to be seen in the true cinema fashion. And it's just, you know, you got to give it an honest look before everyone else gets out there and then starts tainting your view about what happened and telling you whatever else happened in the movie. And then that way you just don't want to see it in the first place. So I definitely will see it in the movie theater to go from there. With that, it's been a great show. I want to thank both Josh and Rebekah for being here with me. The Preview Review Show is here to tell you opinions, unbiased opinions of the previews that are coming out. And I would like to thank you all for watching. And thank you both for being here. Have a good day and goodbye.